Hi friends, so today's math lesson we are going to add and subtract fractions with like denominators. And that just means that it's the same number on the bottom for both fractions. Okay, so this is just a review to prep us for tomorrow's lesson. So let's practice. Let's do 3/5 plus 1/5. Okay, so remember, if we have like denominators, if we have the same number on the bottom, then we're going to keep it the same in our answer. So 5 and 5/5, we're going to be working with fifths on the bottom as well. Do not do 5 plus 5 equals 10. We're wanting to keep it the same throughout. Okay, so my bottom number is going to be 5, and then I just need to add the top numbers. 3 plus 1 is 4. Okay, so 3/5 plus 1/5 equals 4/5. That is my answer. Okay, let's try another one. Let's do 2/3 plus 1/3. Okay, same thing. Keeping my denominator the same, we're working with threes or thirds. And then I just need to add the top two. 2 plus 1 is 3. Looks a little bit different. We've got the same number that's on top and bottom. So if I drew out my picture and I split it into thirds, because whatever the bottom number is how many pieces there is. And then if I shade whatever the top number is, shade that many pieces, if I shade in 3, well, it looks like the whole thing is colored, right? So we can say that 3/3 is actually 1 whole. Okay, friends, remember that? Whatever number, if it's the same number for the top and the bottom, it's actually just 1 whole. Big number 1. Okay, make sure that you're changing that. Okay, don't leave it as the same number on top and bottom. Change it to 1 whole. Okay, let's try this one. Tomorrow we'll be working more on these mixed numbers, but I want to show you today. So we have 3 1/4 plus 2 2/4. Okay? So a little bit different, and I am going to start with adding our whole numbers, right? We have to add the like things. So 3 plus 2 is a big number 5. And then I know we're still working with fourths, so 4 is going to be at the bottom. Now I just need to add the 1 and the 2. 1 plus 2 is 3. Okay? So 3 1/4 plus 2 2/4 equals 5 3/4. Remember, that's saying that there's 5 whole things, and then this one is shut down. So let's see. 4, 5. Okay, so it's like saying that these first 5 are all colored, but then this one is only colored 3 of the boxes out of 4. Okay? Now let's try some subtraction, because remember, subtraction is a little bit difficult than adding because we have to kind of borrow sometimes. So let's start with something easy. Let's do 8/10 minus 6/10. Okay? We know that 8 is greater than 6, so we don't have to borrow anything. We know that if we have 8 objects, we can take 6 away from it. So again, just like adding, I'm going to keep my same denominator, which is the tenths. And now I just need to subtract 8 minus 6, which is 2. Now I wanted to show you something very quickly, because sometimes it's going to ask you, We'll write the fraction in the simplest form, meaning that this fraction can go even smaller. And how we do that is we think about equivalent fractions. Remember, we can times the fraction by the same number, or we can divide the fraction by the same number. So if we're thinking if we want it to be smaller, we're going to work with dividing, right? So just think, well, what is the same number that can be divided into 2 and divided into 10? Well, let's think, can 2 times something equal 10? Yeah, 5, right? So then we know that 2 can go into 2. 2 times 1 equals 2. So we know that we're going to divide it by 2. 2 divided by 2 equals 1. 10 divided by 2 equals 5. So 8/10 minus 6/10 does equal 2/10, but in its simplest form, we know that 2/10 is actually just 1/5. Okay? Now I want us to show this one here because this might be a little bit tricky. So we've got 1 1/4 minus 2/4. Okay? 1 is less than 2. If we have 1 of something, we can't take 2 away from it. So we have to borrow somewhere. We're going to borrow from this whole number. So I'm going to change this to, if we know that a whole number 1 is how many fourths? If we split it up into 4s, how many pieces are we going to color? Right, 4. Whatever number is on the bottom needs to be the same on the top to equal 1 whole. Okay? And then we can't forget about this other fraction right here. We can't forget about 1/4. Because you know what we're going to do with these two fractions? We're going to add them together. So then, this is 4/4 plus 1/4. We're still working with fourths, so that's our denominator. Then 4 plus 1 is 5. Now I can just drag this all the way down, my 2/4. Because 5 is greater than 2, I can subtract now. So remember, 4 and 4, we're going to keep it the same right here, fourths. And then 5 minus 2 is 3. So I started with 1 1/4 minus 2/4. I knew that I had to borrow somewhere. I had to change this whole number to its fraction form, which was 4/4. Added this one to it to get 5/4. Then I could subtract the 2/4 to give me 3/4 is our answer. Okay, friends, after you've watched this video, go ahead and do the seesaw activity. It is labeled Wednesday, March 25th Math Workshop. If you get stuck, please rewatch this video as many times as you need to or message me on Seesaw. Bye, friends.